Okay, good afternoon. My name is Alex Green, and I'm president and founder of the Harriet Tubman Center for Cultural and Educational Advancement. I am a historical interpreter and also a somewhat of a climate specialist, dealing with um, the landscape that is indicative to Harriet Tubman's time and period in Dorchester County. So, I want to present tonight, or today, excuse me, that um, information that I have found to be very, very relevant in today's atmosphere dealing with history and climate. And it's a project called Underground Underwater. So very happy to present this information to you so you can see the work we're doing here on Dorchester County, Maryland, and hope you enjoy. So Underground Underwater. Um, Underground Underwater is rooted in nature, rising in resilience. And this pretty much gives you some type of visual of the landscape in Dorchester County. And this is the land that Harriet Tubman once worked in. And as we scale through this presentation, we'll dive a little bit deeper in what underground underwater is and how it's very important to document. Should say who I am, but who we are. I'm a founder, historical interpreter, president of Harriet Tubman Freedom Center, environmental storyteller through history, bridging heritage, tourism, and environmental action. It's a lot inside of that right there. Just to sum it all up, we are documenting spaces that are going to be lost to climate change. And these very, very spaces are where a lot of historical information is. So we're presently working on a spot called Ben's 10, and this would be a spot where Harriet Tubman's father once owned, or not really say owned, but he lived at this location, and it's presently just about underwater. So we're going to document this space and being able to map it in virtual um, document the space and be able to share the story as well as it would pertain to the time they were living there, some years before, and about 75 years in the future. Our mission, connecting history, climate, and community. Bridging these gaps between the history and climate is very unique because of the simple fact it's not like it hasn't been done before, but it has not been done in a space like this, where we have a specific location where this history is very, very relevant through the time, even now today, and during the years that Harriet Tubman per se would be at these areas. It gives people a chance to be able to see it years into the future. And also, it's a community effort as well. Harriet Tubman's landscape is a changing climate. Now, as the picture in the backdrop there of basically facing would be going to the Chesapeake Bay, you will find a lot of this land is almost barren, where tidal wetlands come in and they ravage the landscape and the foliage and all. And the saltwater intrusion kills the landscape, and it's not usable no more. So hundreds of acres a year are being lost in Dorchester County as it being one of the lowest places on the East Coast. Why Harriet Tubman matters to environmental education. Harriet Tubman was not only a freedom fighter, she was a master naturalist. So we would find, even not even known to her, that her involvement in this climate or that climate at that time would take a high skill set to learn how to live off the land, and the work she did in that area really, really gave her the educated view on how to masterfully navigate these ways. And not only that, she used these very ways to even help people out of that situation. So the landscape is pretty much the same, but we still have this climate change, sea level rise, and land subsiding. But at her time, she learned to navigate the waterways and the marshes and to live off the land. So it's very important that we understand the necessity of this climate change situation affecting these areas so that we can get a good understanding on how things are drastically changing. Harriet Tubman navigated the wetlands, the forest corridors, tidal wetlands, night skies, and seasonal shifts. The wetlands is still the depicted view in the background where you have the saltwater intrusion, and the tree that's standing there now would be a part of what they call a ghost forest, or that's just one tree, so a ghost tree per se, but they're standing all over the place. And they're very, very indicative. And I have another slide in here that shows you what they look like. And it's a beautiful landscape during the wintertime. The forest corridors, all of the forest standing trees, they would be a different type of species of tree. It'd be more of a hardwood at that time. So they gathered a lot of wood. Ben, her father was an expert timberman, so he was very skillful in identifying trees. These tidal wetlands have been moving for years and years. So as the sea level rises, they're coming more into the neighborhoods of the people that live in these areas. So, and not so far in the distant future, these people are not going to have a place to even live. The night skies are very important as they use that as a navigating tool by constellations, the North Star, using that as a point to get to freedom, which would be north. So that was another skill set that is very, very resourceful. The seasonal shifts would be the times from the winter to fall and all of these different times in period, you would have the seasonal shifts, which are changing. Now, this is an excellent view of the ghost forest. This would be in the Blackwater Refuge. As you can see, you see the tidal wetlands right up to the marshy area and intrusion, which you can see the brown grass, which is basically dead grass, but still it stays in place. But you can see how the trees have succumbed to this intrusion and they're still standing. So this is an actual picture of the ghost forest and in the wildlife refuge, which we have the night fall sky with the kind of purplish orange hue in the back, and it's an amazing view when you get a chance to get down to the refuge. Now, the Underground, Harriet Tubman Underground Railroad, just to jump in back into give you some context of this journey. It's a 125-mile journey inside of this lower parts of southern Dorchester. It's called the Heart of the Chesapeake. And this journey starts basically not too far from the refuge where all of this climate change is really, really relevant. And you get a chance to experience it by riding down into the refuge and the areas where she was born and enslaved, and also where she worked. So this was a natural occurrence for her every day to deal with these type of wetlands. Most people think Harriet Tubman was born more further in the South. She wasn't. She did work down in the South, down to the Columbia River, but here's where she got all of her training. She was in these areas. This is where her background came from, navigating these waterways, getting access to locations that made her success more relevant and powerful as she moved. And it goes all the way up to Kennel Square, Pennsylvania. It's a 125-mile journey. The journey going north, the land dynamics change totally. You don't get closer to more of the water. You're more on land, flat lands, and different things, and more of a cityscape. So it is a part of the American roads. What is the underground underwater? Well, once we got the trees, the ghost forest there on the bottom left, and then we have land loss where once was land, where these trees are and roots are. They haven't fell into the water yet, and this is more in the or the end parts of, or the southern parts of South Dorchester, where you have a lot of climate and issues down there, where some islands have been totally decimated, meaning you have homes gone, yards full of water, graves, and all of these things are very jeopardized and missing because of the sea level rise and land subsidence. Underground on the Water is an immersive environmental education initiative exploring climate impact underground, railroad landscapes, the Ben Ross family home region, disappearing shorelines, mapping history, GIS plus storytelling. Now, um, with a credible team that we have, the Underground Underwater team, and everybody in their respective places, we all came together and in our own expertise, put together this amazing program called Underground Underwater, which documents these places. But when we map these places and have static and visuals to engage with these spaces, they can live for centuries because in the next 50 years, these places will not be accessible to the human person. You'll be able to ride over in a boat maybe, but you'll never ever be able to actually put your foot on the land again once this uh, engagement takes place. The landscape is disappearing. Dorchester County is one of the fastest regions on the East Coast. Key issues: sea level rise, saltwater intrusion, land subsidence, and habitat loss. This is another picture of the back end of the Hunger River, which these same trails, waterways, um, fishermen and locals use these same paths to go. Sometimes muskrat trapping, sometimes they do some fishing in these areas, and it's a big maze. So these locals know these waterways. The average person cannot get inside of these trails and different ways and not get lost. As you look in the middle there, you see one that's a dead end. Some of them you can't get in, or they're very, very, very small. So it's an amazing experience, and most of this is going to be underwater as well in the next 20 years. Map of the sea level rise, climate change, and the Chesapeake Bay in 2025. If you look up to the top of the screen here, you will see Dorchester County is like a little heart there. That it's not a very good picture, but what it's showing in 2025, Dorchester County is practically underwater. So that's wrong. I'm sorry. That should be something else. That is wrong. It should be 2050. I think that's wrong there. So excuse me on that. And this map was resourced by the source of National Geographic. Climate plus culture intersection. When land disappears, stories disappear, access disappears, cultural memory disappears, environmental literacy must include heritage literacy. So basically, when this land disappears, we lose a lot of different things by stack, and it's not really something that we kind of think about every day until we get the information about it. And that's what's so important to me, that we understand these areas. And this program can probably be duplicated just about anywhere in the world where you're having this type of issue, um, where the water or climate is being more of the issue than your actual landscape. So once you start to dig into it, it becomes more of a necessity. History is not separate from ecology, and we know that to be true as you start to study. Mapping the past to protect the future. Um, as I start to get more engaged with the process of this project, it's so intense, and people have Um, the team has so much experience in different area, but what I find with these maps is that these places have been mapped for hundreds of years, not as critiqued as they are now, but some of these old road systems have been there since the founding of these areas, meaning when people started inhabiting, not the indigenous, but the settlers came in and they started putting in road systems and all of these things to access the water. So the water was very key. So as we continue to map, we set a presence of people getting involved and moving forward, continue to map their locations and get the information and basically, hopefully, dig into the history as well. The tools we use, GIS mapping, archival research, and this is dealing with the students because it has a a scholastic kind of connection as well that is being worked on and hopefully in the future will become relevant to um, public school systems. But it takes some time to really get those centers in place. Students could become investigators, field documentation, and virtual map tours are some of the things that can roll out of that. Okay, sorry. Environmental education through story. Um, so storytelling activates empathy, curiosity, and stewardship. So me as being a historical teller, storyteller, um, a lot of times I have the awesome what's the word I want to use? The awesome opportunity to create an experience for people that come to these locations and in the way of giving them information so they can make a conscious, more educated decision on what's happening around them. And you may live in Baltimore City, Washington, D.C., or you might live in Florida or wherever, but still, the story of where we're at is very an educated decision dealing with Harriet Tubman because just about anybody that lives somewhere in these areas or on the East Coast knows something about her. And down to Harriet Tubman and what she did, she read the Moss direction which I am learning more about now, moss direction and where how it grows on the north side of the trees, and it grows basically just about on most trees, but reading the direction on how they use reading the direction and see how they use it to move. She read the river flows, animal patterns, night skies, constellations. So they were astrologers. I mean, and when you look at patterns, animal patterns, and I'm not an expert on that, but still, um, geese migrate south for the winter. So sometimes when you're looking at bird patterns and different things and how they move and where they're doing different things, it gives you some kind of direction on where to go. Harriet Tubman. A little bit of educator integration. How this fits in a classroom instruction. Well, this is the part where this is more tailored to the scholastic type of avenue, uh, new generation science standards, alignment, climate science, Maryland environmental literacy standards, social study, environmental crosswalk, place-based learning, and culturally responsive instruction. Now, with one of our team members that worked for NOAA for several years, um, she integrated this into slide as we share this with multiple entities and different things. So this is something that we can see these lining up with the school system. And it does fit in with some Maryland school. literacy standards and some other places too, but it takes some time to be able to introduce it. So this is a part of the educational integration, integration. Student engagement models. Programs include virtual map tours, field experiences, climate heritage workshops, youth climate and cultural labs, art and science collaboration. Once again, as they looked at this, they seeing that some of the science standards and different things will be available for the program to include this inside of a school system type of atmosphere, but it's more of a hands-on or an immersive experience where you come and be in the location at this point. Okay, here we are with the American 250 and Legacy Education. Maryland Association for Environmental and Outdoor Education and educators are shaping the future narratives. Underground Underwater contributes to the American 250 conversation, inclusive environmental history, Black environmental resilience, and narratives. Now, all of these things are very relevant to us today. As we go into the American 250 conversation, what is our gift, or what is our project or our thing that we can give back to letting the American people or the society know our adage on the end of the history of Harriet Tubman. And it sparks a lot of conversations. I have a lot of conversations with people that say, well, America 250 does include this history, in which it does, but how do you share it? Well, you share what's happening now, at that time, and then in the future. So it gives you the accessibility to learn more about the history that really wasn't shared across the span of time. Inclusive environmental history. The environment has been around since Earth has been formed. So it gives us a chance to tell the history in a more productive and inclusive way. Black environmental resilience and narratives. The Black environmental resilience narratives are very, very interesting conversation where the history has always been here and been shared in a capacity where all didn't have access, including the Black Americans. So we have to understand that this all formed in a unified type of effort, but through history, it's been a separation and a deliberate act to try to leave out certain parts of it. And so when we talk about the resilience of the narratives, it means that it's still striving and still being very relevant today as we continue to do this. Case study of Ben Ross site and region. Focus area, Harriet Tubman's father, timber region, the wetlands shifts, erosion patterns, preservation strategies. The timber region site and is very interesting as the region would not be the same as it is today. You would have more hardwood, you would have more land mass. And Harriet's father's site, matter of fact, he was given this piece of land to cut as much timber as he wanted on this site for as long as he lived there. So he had such a ability to be able to do this because of his ethics and work, his position, and not only that, his skill sets. So his skill sets afforded him certain things to be able to have that bequeathed to him. The wetlands shifts. So these wetlands are covered in phragmites now and timber, which is mostly pine now. Um, it's been over forested, so you don't have a lot of things that would make it exactly like it was, but you can turn it into um, a piece of information that you can understand through digital reproduction. Erosion patterns, see it all the time. I'm down in the Blackwater a lot, so going through the Blackwater River, the tidal wetlands in the Blackwater River is rising all the time. One of the major roads that's going through there is just about just about gone, and so these patterns are making climate change a reality, believe it or not. Preservation strategies. The preservation strategies at this point have to be documentation. That's my point of view on it. I think that if we don't document these spaces, you're not going to have any kind of real drive or reason to try to go back to it and try to figure out for the future what was there, the stories, the locations, or anything like that. And it'll be a lot more easier just say um, it was over there somewhere, and we don't have any more information than that. And that's happened at a lot of places. What happens if we do nothing? So we lose the cultural landscapes. Very important. As I just was sharing, if we do nothing, if we don't document, we don't go to green. We keep on with the coal fire. We keep on with these things, and do not have a deliberate effort. And of course, right now, things are not looking in that direction, but they will, because you have more for the good than the bad, it doesn't seem. But you disconnect from environmental identity. These spots were identified back in those times, so they have an identity, right? And they have been documented, so it's history. History is not going anywhere. It'll repeat itself if you don't engage in it. Reduce youth engagement. This is one of the big pieces for me because not only do we have to work as adults in this field to work to document and continue to move forward with these things, but we also have to inform the younger generation what is going on. So they're going to be the direct bearers of everything that's going on now, and we should have some empathy thinking about how we're what we're leaving them. Fragmented community response. Um, Communities, I can say in Dorchester County, are not informed enough about where they live. Um, not only historically, climate wise, all of these things. So we're working very hard with different organizations to try and the same organizations feel the same way to get the community engaged with information, responses to your location. And you're only maybe 20 to 25 miles from one of the lowest places on the East Coast. So you should know these things. It shouldn't be a red flag flying around or somebody come through the street with a siren. You should know these things so you can make a decision, or your children can make a decision on how they want to live their life in the future. Because in these areas, it's pretty much not going to be a place that you're going to want to build a home or something in the future unless you want to build a house way high up off the water. What happens if we act? Well, if we act, become climate aware educators, youth environmental leaders, protected heritage sites, stronger community partnerships, place rooted lesson plans. Um, when you become aware of something, then I feel as though you could become more engaged with the situation, which I think is very important. Um, Here in Dorchester County, one of the most beautiful places there is, far as nature wise and water wise, you have so many of different aspects of this opportunity to learn about different things. The youth are very, very important to us as an organization that they find out what's happening. So they can become leaders and or if they want to get into the environment, at least they can know about it and protect the sites. And you know that or if they have some documentation, they can share about the sites and what it is. And then these climate issues or these different things that come up in the world now, they can really have a one unified effort to try to make a change in this forever changing landscape. And of course, the community, once they get informed, they become stronger, partnering with initiatives basically to give folks the opportunity to take a chance to get involved. Now, this part here is just how how we can partner. This is another little deck slide. We don't really have to get into this, and it's really just something more so this do map tour, bring students to the Freedom Center, collaborate on grants proposals. So this is just something that we do. And that is the end. So we can do some reflections and questions. I wanted to leave that part out, but I didn't get a chance to take that one out. You can edit that one out. But the reflections on this is the underground underwater um, is a very, very special project that gives us a chance to engage into the history, climate, and science. And so we can deepen our, how can we history deepen your environmental instruction? So basically put, it's a project that gives us more in-depth look into a land which is rich in history and changing in climate. Rooted in nature, rising in resilience. Nature remembers, history teaches, and we act. Thank you.
Very good, Alex. Very good. Thank you so much for your presentation. You've got a few minutes for some questions?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay, great. I've got more questions than time, so we'll keep it brief.
yeah.
But this is awesome. I want to thank you for coming back and supporting us for your third year at
Yeah.
Climate Tech Plus. We
Mhm.
always want to center the work that you do in this conversation because, after all, Climate Tech Plus exists because of what I heard you say a few years ago. If you recall, you were on a stage with Tom Horton, the producer of High Tide in Dorchester. You're at the
Mhm.
Maryland Historical Society and talking about how sea level rise and climate change is really affecting the travel and tourism industry in your business, specifically in Dorchester County on the Eastern Shore.
Yep.
And, I'd already taken your tour probably three or four times at
Mhm.
that point. But prior to you inviting me to that session in Baltimore City where you were talking, climate
Mhm.
change and sea level rise never really connected to me because I'm on the Western Shore. I'm in Randallstown,
Okay.
These aren't things we deal with, right? We have radon, but
Yeah.
sea level rise and sunny day flooding is not a thing here.
Right.
But anybody that knows me knows that I have a deep appreciation and respect for the legacy of Harriet Tubman. And once I heard that, it was like, whoa, I'm in the real estate industry, been in the real estate industry for 25 years. Just to know the product that I, help my clients buy, lease, sell is a major contributor to greenhouse gas emissions. The light bulb immediately went off. And I quickly realized that this conversation was not happening in the Baltimore market. And so that's when we launched 3 years ago,
Mhm.
Baltimore Climate Tech 2024, 2025, 2026.
Mhm.
And I always contribute that to you,
Mhm. Mhm.
making me aware and realizing there's things that we can do on the Western Shore. And so it's kind of evolved into kind of a knowledge base of information that people can do across the globe to be able to assist low-lying areas like yours out there. So I just wanted to put
Yeah.
that out there that um, this idea of Maryland Climate Tech didn't come out of nowhere.
Right. Right.
It came out
Right.
of, many conversations that you and I've had
Yeah.
over the years, and we've been, working together for, gosh, 6 years now. Can you believe
Six years. Mhm.
it?
Yeah. Yeah. It sure has been. Yeah.
And I'm very excited, to be a part of the underground underwater work that we're doing with the digital twins and digitally reconstructing the Ben's 10 site and the Thompson Quarter. Very
Hmm.
exciting a venture that we're all working on with other partners at UMSES and a few other folks. So I'm very excited
Hmm.
to be a part of this and that you've invited me to be a part of it.
Yes.
I guess the question, well, first of all, I mean, rooted in nature, rising in resilience. That's powerful.
Yep.
That is powerful. And talk to me about what it means to kind of bridge the gap between, African American history, and environmental science to kind of bring those two together, which are not that are silos that often don't come together in the same
Right.
room. But you've have a very unique approach of bringing those two worlds together. Talk to me a little bit about what that means to underground underwater.
Well, yeah. So bringing those two together is it really came to my involvement with the landscape and, sharing the stories of Harriet Tubman and noticing that the land was really just changing every time just about I was going through. So it sparked an interest in me to notice that, one day we're not going to be able to travel this road.
Mhm.
And then I started, doing a little bit more research and we're talking about African American history now. We're talking about locations that are indicative to one of the most powerful figures in African American history, Harriet Tubman.
American
And this,
history.
yeah, American history. Yep, American history. So it's not gonna be accessible. So what do we do for my grandkids and their children? What do they know?
Mhm.
They know maybe the great grandfather talked about Harriet Tubman, but where's it at? So we got to understand this is America, and she was an American. So we got to understand that we have to connect it all together. We cannot continue to separate these things
Mhm. Mhm.
and know that they happen coincidentally, meaning that they all worked in some kind of unison
Mhm.
at the time. So documenting these things is very important that we understand that it's a part of American history. And once we understand that, we have documentation saying, hey, this is where it happened, right here
Mhm.
in Dorchester County.
Mhm.
This is where
Mhm.
Harriet Tubman lived.
Mhm. Mhm.
So it's not a very hard process. It's just an acknowledgement,
Mhm.
a
Mhm.
land acknowledgement that we understand that it happened here. Now you can make a decision not to believe it, but hey, we got documentation saying that it is. This
Right.
is what happens.
Right.
And then we recreate it so you can be virtual like you're going to do, Aaron.
Mhm.
You're going to recreate it to a time where it was back in her time,
Right.
right? And then you're going to bring it some years in the future,
Mhm.
right? When
Mhm.
it's underwater.
Right.
So you're going to be able to see it before it even happens.
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
So I mean, once again, it's no need to get into the dying part of it. It's the work that's being done, like people like you and me and others, our
Mhm.
other collaborators
Mhm.
that really takes us at the heart, that gives people the hope and the future that these things work together and understanding when it happened, where it happened, and we did something about it. So putting these two together, it's for a person like me, it's almost like common sense to me in the
No,
sense
no
of
brainer.
saying,
Yeah. Mhm.
yeah, yeah, but I have to step back and regress a little bit. And for the people that quite say, well, why does this matter?
Right.
I mean,
Right.
why do you
Mhm.
see the necessity to
Mhm.
document something that was in
Mhm.
a dark time? That's the reason, because the dark time is what we never have really documented. We have not taken the chance to really understand it. Then you can make a conscious decision on how you want to deal with it.
Right.
But still, somebody has to run out there and say, hey, I'm going to do it.
Right. Right. Absolutely. Our theme for this year, it's not a mistake. It's very much, tied to the legacy of Harriet Tubman. Our theme is housing as healthcare, the
Mm,
case for climate resilient, healthy homes,
mm,
right?
mm,
And really focusing on home ownership as a symbol of freedom, independence, and citizenship. So we really centered our theme in and
mm,
around this, our American
mm.
250 underground underwater bus tour that you'll be facilitating on
Yeah.
March 19th. We're super excited. I mean, these aren't disparate things kind of working outside of one another. These are all things that are very much in alignment with the work that we're continuing to do.
Yes.
Um, I just started reading Dr. Etta Fields' Black
Mm,
book, Combi,
mm.
and it's amazing. In the first two pages, the comparison that she makes between the Combi River in South Carolina, just outside of Charleston,
Yeah.
and the Blackwater,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
how those two ecosystems were very familiar. The
Yes.
language might not have been,
Yeah.
Harry didn't speak Gullah Geechee, but The
No.
land she knew because the
Mhm.
landscape was very much the same. And so, and you're familiar with Dr. Edifield's black work, right?
Yes. Yes, I am. Yeah. Yes, yes. Yes, I am.
So,
Yeah.
so I guess my question is,
Yeah.
if Harriet were to come back, they say the
Mhm.
landscape there on the Eastern Shore hasn't changed much in 250 years. But
True.
if she came back today, the Ghost Forest would be something brand new to her.
Mhm.
Would she recognize the landscape, and what do you think her visceral reaction would be, and what would she do to help solve this issue?
Yeah,
If
yeah.
you had your crystal
So
ball.
yeah, 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 yeah. So she would recognize, I believe, pretty much. This is the key about Dorchester County. Like you said, a lot of the landscape is still the same. The roads have been there since 1700, so
Mhm,
she would know how to get around.
mhm,
What would be different for her, as you mentioned, would be the ghost forest, the saltwater intrusion, the big masses of water, and you really Miss Fields and I had a conversation not long ago, and we were talking about the Cumby River, and um, I was in Charleston a year or so ago, whatever,
mhm, mhm.
and and I went down to the Cumby River. Matter of fact, I rode across the bridge that
Okay.
went across the Cumby
You
River.
missed that sign. You'll miss that sign if you're going too
I
fast.
went by it so fast I didn't even know it went by it, and my wife said, "Hey, there's said Cumby River," so we turned around and went back.
Yeah.
And so we rode down the ramp, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this looks like the Blackwater River. You know
Hmm.
what I mean? But the only thing different in that area is the tide moves a lot faster.
Right.
In Dorchester County, it doesn't move as fast.
Hmm.
And so, man, Dr. Fields was talking, and she said, listen, I was all out in those rice fields, walking around, doing this. I was like, what?
Hmm.
You was doing what? And she said, the closer you get to land, the water slows down. It's just on the corners as it goes around where it's a lot. But they have alligators down there.
Yeah. Skeeters.
They, yep, they have alligators. So I was like, whoa, this lady really has something to deal with because alligators are prehistoric. They've been around thousands of years, so they just didn't come on the scene.
Right.
But I think she would be able to recognize the land here in Dorchester County.
Hmm.
I think this is just my perspective on it, and just kind of embodying her for several years, and and some of the narratives and being in this landscape. I think she would be on an effort just like we're doing as
Hmm.
well.
Hmm. Hmm.
She would
I
be on
agree.
an effort on trying to get people the information about the location.
I agree.
So it'd be more of a necessity that the land stay put because they lived off the land,
Hmm.
then we are trying to document it. So
Hmm.
she would definitely be more in the environmental space of looking at it like, hey, we have to do something about this. And then she would have to be educated like as we do on what the action we want to take on how ours was, documenting. But hers might be moving to higher ground or planning somewhere else or whatever. But I think she would be more proactive in making sure that people understand, hey, you might not want to stay here. You might want to go up to Auburn or somewhere. You might want to do something different.
Right.
Because I mean, she was very wise on how to move around. Now you got to remember too, she didn't care too much for Dorchester County because she grew up in a time that was very,
Right.
very,
Right.
very dark,
Right.
for
Right.
our people.
Right. Absolutely. And one of the rare souls to want to come back
Yep,
south of the Mason-Dixon line more than once, knowing that, she could be captured at any moment.
absolutely.
Whether she was serving as a Civil War soldier or Civil War
Hmm.
nurse and spy or freeing, family members and descendants. So,
Yep.
um, Alex, I appreciate, again, you're participating for your third year. This is very exciting. Underground, underwater is just a very
Yep.
exciting perspective on this. I'm glad
Hmm.
that you've invited me to participate and be
Yes.
actively involved and anything that we can do to support your efforts, whether it's, bringing people from the Western Shore on buses to be able to
Yep.
experience what you've designed or
Mm.
anything, we can do. We definitely want to be able to support your efforts. So your contact information will magically appear on the screen in post-production. We'll have a
Okay.
little QR code where people can scan and make a donation to your nonprofit organization as well.
Okay.
And we're excited about the tour coming up on March 19th as well.
Oh,
But
I am as well. And thank you for your partnership and leadership as well. I mean, documented. This is a big deal to the world.
Yeah.
In our prospective places, we're doing something that's going to outlast us. So I thank you, and I really look forward for the recreation. Your work is amazing, amazing, and
Thank you.
we got so many projects and different things to do,
Hmm.
and it's just not by chance I haven't called and started saying, "Hey, man, we got to do this, we got to do that, we got to do
So
this," and
good.
I said, "No, no." But once we get this first one done, I think, and we start promoting. I think it's going to be an amazing thing. People are going to gravitate and start to understand
Yeah.
the necessity of history.
Hmm.
And it's just something we can't turn a blind eye to anymore. We have to understand all parts of it, not
Sure.
just certain sectors of it. We got to
Hmm.
understand this, and then the future can make a conscious decision on
Hmm.
how they want to continue to keep this earth moving. Because
Absolutely.
if not, if we don't take any more better care of it than now, it's not going to last very long. So that's, I mean, and you mentioned a key thing, and I'll cut off here. And educating people on home buying is a big,
Hmm.
big, big, big thing. And the connection that you have through Harriet Tubman, I love that. That piece is really, really special, and it's going to turn a lot of heads because people can have something connected. You got to have something to really grasp a hold of, get an understanding of it.
That's right.
And I'm not a realtor or anything like that, but when I went to go buy my home some 20 some years ago, um, I looked at 5 or 6 different houses, and this is the living room, this is the bathroom, this is the
Hmm.
whatever.
Hmm.
But I was looking for a location that I could raise my family at, that had a yard and something that I could connect to.
Hmm.
Didn't know it was by a higher Tubman byway. I didn't have any
Hmm.
idea about that.
Hmm.
But then it was the connection I made to the land. So once you make a connection to that, and you make a connection to a historical figure, that's powerful.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I see a mic that just dropped, so we will we will leave it there, my friend.
Yep.
And again, I appreciate your time, your subject
Yes,
matter
sir.
expertise, and all the work that you're doing there in Dorchester County, Cambridge, and the Eastern Shore.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for everything you do as well.
Absolutely. All right. Have a good one. Talk to
All
you
right, you
soon.
too, man.
All right.
Bye.
Peace.